Sack fly last night, and it gave the Nats a fifth straight win, a season best 3.5 game lead in the East. No doubt the starters have led the way. One run allowed over that 5-game span, and a team record 34 1/3 scoreless innings streak. Today, Doug Fister aims to keep it going and deliver the knockout punch in the series finale. It's a hot one at Nationals Park. A little cloud cover, so a little relief from the blazing sun. Ball could be flying, though. We hope not when Doug Fister goes out there again. The Braves are 2 under 500, and now the Nats are starting to grab control of the East. They've won 5 in a row. A couple of orders of business. Bryce Harper felt a little bit in his hamstring as he pulled into second base last night, getting a day off. Anthony Rendon, a little bit of a quad issue. He's getting a day off as well. Matt Williams says that's all it is. All right, that's all it is. A good phrase for the pitching staff because they've been outstanding. These guys are all back healthy now, and they're feeding off of each other.
They are. They're trying to play topper. Anything you could do, I could do better. And it's tough to go after Max Scherzer. But when you look at what these guys have done, 34 1/3 consecutive scoreless inning streak, 5th longest streak in Major League since 2000. And everybody talked about this rotation in the offseason, how nice it is to have a guy like Tanner Roark as your 6th starter, the best rotation in baseball. People have gotten away from that because they haven't been healthy for the majority of the season, but now they're starting to line up again. They're starting to feed off each other, as you say, and then if you're a team facing them, you know, which guy do you want to face? Doug Fister was good at his return back from the DL. He just hit the wall in the 6th inning. It's his turn here today.
Yeah, 87 pitches his last time out. Nats piling up some numbers now these days against the Braves, all starting with that come-from-behind win in Atlanta. They've won 7 straight, 2 with walk-offs, and going back to June of 4 years ago, 14 of 19 against Atlanta and 5-0 here this year. It's no longer a one-sided series tilting south. It's up in D.C. now. Doug Fister is ready. Jace Peterson is ready. And the Nats are trying to go for the sweep today without Harper and without Rendon in the lineup. Doug Fister, 3-1 career and 10 starts against Atlanta with a very good ERA of 2.62. Faces them FP for the 3rd time already this year.
Yeah, first start off the DL was pretty good. 5-3 loss, though. And 5 1/3, 5 runs on 9 hits, but he was solid through 5, and you could tell kind of hit the wall in the 6th inning. So he had a solid 5 innings, and then the dam kind of broke in the 6th, and he's building up his endurance. Last start, the fastball averaged 85 miles an hour, and he threw that changeup 16% of the time.
A little bit off the plate. First pitch. This one gets the inside edge. Jace Peterson having a rough series of base on balls, and he's 0 for 9. A batting average at 273. And against Pfister, 2 for 5 career. Possible storms approaching the area. We'll keep our eyes to the west. It's 84 at game time, and actually the humidity not that bad at 46%. A well-hit ball to left center. Denard Span yields, and there's Michael A. Taylor getting a little more confident in the outfield all the time. He calls off the veterans. So Maben and Markakis, the next two. Cameron Maben, 400 with runners in scoring position. In this series, he has 2 hits, 1 home run, and that's the only home run the Braves have hit lately against the Nats. And then Nick Markakis is batting .305. He's 8th in the league. Former Nat Johnny Gomes in the lineup today, and here's Cameron Maben. 2 for 6 against Pfister career. Both of those hits doubles.
And check out the elevation of Doug's pitches today. Everything below there, he's good. Like that. He stays down there all day. You're going to see a lot of ground balls. You're going to see some infielders making some plays.
0-2, and Doug ready to go right back to work. Ramos tried to frame it for Mike Estabrook, the home plate umpire, 10th year in the big leagues. Crew chief Dana DeMuth, first base. Sam Holbrook at Hickox. This is quite a good veteran crew, and that's inside. 2-2. Maben at 284. Out to short. To his left, Ian Desmond.
Well, you just tell where the pitches are from Doug Pfister so far. That these guys right here, they're going to be getting a lot of action. You see the outfield Span, Taylor Robinson, Wilson Ramos behind the plate. Sinker's sinking. He's misses so far have been below the strike zone. All the good sign.
Yeah, that's really good news. Doug 62 and 59 career, 161st career start, and one of the hottest hitters in the league now stepping in, Nick Markakis, who in this series is 6 for 9. Nats won because they got him out in the 11th inning last night. He finally made an out after a whole bunch of hits, and he has the 4th most, 83 in the National League. Yunel Escobar right behind him.
I mean, I get my stopwatch out between pitches, but I don't even think I could do it right now. He's working so fast. Let's see, where is it?
Well, you just missed 2 pitches.
Too late.
3-1. So Markakis batting average up to 305. His on base percentage is now 5th best in the league at 394. Only Joey Votto, Anthony Rizzo, Bryce Harper, and Paul Goldschmidt get on base more than Nick Markakis. (3-2) with 2 outs. This one over by the dugout and on to the top of the dugout. Mets are in action this afternoon, 1-0 at Milwaukee. 6th inning there. And a 3-2 pitch again. Markakis to center, it's in the air, and Denard Span is there. Doug Pfister continues the good pitching by Nats starters. Washington faces rookie Matt Whistler. Braves here today. Nationals are up to 5th in the league with their team batting average now .258. Only the Rockies have scored more runs. And Danny Espinosa wearing out the Braves, 12 for 27 against Atlanta. Some extra base hits, some RBIs, and 8 runs. That's great hitting. And he's in the number 2 hole spot, a number 2 spot, or number 2 hole, whichever way you refer to it, with Anthony Rendon on the bench today. And here's 22-year-old rookie Matt Wisler.
A second big league start for Whistler. He won his first one against the Mets. Everyone talking about how much poise he had on the mound in his first major league start. You see the record 1-0 with a 1.13 ERA, 2 strikeouts, no walks. Threw 88 pitches in his debut, 92-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got some good sink. Watch the deception. He'll show his back to the hitter. Little crossfire action. He'll step right toward the third base line. So his 92 on average plays a little bit quicker based on the delivery you're about to see.
Rated the number 1 prospect in the San Diego organization before the season started, and then he comes over here to the Braves in the Craig Kimbrell deal. So obviously they get some future building blocks as part of that trade.
Yeah, he'll stay away with that 2-seam fastball you're seeing. Try to keep it down, get a lot of ground ball outs. Got a good changeup to go with it. It looks just like the fastball.
2-0. And Denard taking.
.95. So sit around 91, 92 with the 2-seamer. Then the 4-seamer will be in the mid-90s.
And Denard Span, a healthy hack on 2-2. 17 straight on base. His on base percentage up to .358. And Denard's hit safely 8 of his last 10 games, 13 hits over that time. Two-two pitch. That ball well hit to right. And Denard Span gets a big piece of that one. Markakis boots it. Span going for 2, and a single turns into 2 bags. And that is Nick Markakis' first error of the year.
That's his first error in a long time.
How long?
I'm looking. It was over 200 games when I looked at the notes yesterday. And there goes a no-hitter. Denard Span's swing has looked fantastic lately. So a single turned into a double. And that's Nick Markakis' first error in 398 straight games.
Wow.
So I was wrong more than 2. Well, I guess I was right more than 200, but not even close. 398 games without an error. Wow. That's something to talk about.
Yeah, it didn't look like that tough of a play. Espinosa lays down a great bunt. And Whistler gets him by a step as Span goes to third. That's great stuff early in the ball game right there.
So the defense for the Braves, nice bunt by Danny Espinosa. Gomes, Maven, Markakis, the outfield. Siriaco, Johnson, left side. Peterson, Turdoslavich, right side. And A.J. Przinsky behind the plate. Wow, 398 games without an error. I mean, that's just, yeah, it's the outfield. You're not playing shortstop. I get all that stuff. But as an outfielder, you can make a perfect throw, a one-hop throw. It hits a base runner in the back and kicks off somewhere. That's an error.
That's the equivalent to 2.5 full seasons of baseball. Escobar, great RBI opportunity. Yunel's had just 1 hit in this series in 9 at-bats. Hitting .329 against right-handers.
And the reason I kept saying long time is I was trying to find it in the notes. So I just kept saying more longs. And I had to highlight it yesterday, but I didn't today. So 398 straight games. Still, that's a wonderful streak. But ding dong, the streak is dead.
Escobar, 26 RBIs on the year. Infield back. Breaking ball out. Side 2-0. Kelly Johnson about 20 feet from the third base bag, so Span can come down the line pretty well here. 2-0 pitch. Under his hands, ball 3. And it's possible the Braves don't want to have a whole lot to do with Escobar here. We'll see. Left-handed hitter on deck, it's Clint Robinson. But you're talking about one of the better hitters in the league right here at .323. He'll get the strike zone with that fastball.
I think that's where you have to pitch, Escobar with runners in scoring position, because we see how he likes to go inside out and hit the ball to right. So you'd think that Whistler's going to try to jam him here. Thinking he might have had the 3-0 green light.
Escobar goes up and away and can't reach 93. On the top of the league, well represented here. And as I mentioned earlier, Nick Markakis just out of that top 5. 3-2 with 1 out. Escobar right side. That's a good ground ball that'll score the run. And the Nats are on top as they manufacture one here in the bottom of the first.
That's just good baseball. I love innings like that. Get them on, get them over, get them in. And you do that consistently, you're going to win a lot of baseball games.
Second time the Nats have scored in the first inning of this series. Anthony Rendon had the RBI Tuesday night after the leadoff Span double. And here's Clint Robinson.
A lot of people criticize a first inning bunt on a leadoff double, and I love the play. There's nothing better than being ahead 1-0. And if you got a guy that throws a sinker that's running away from you as a lefty, it's mid-90s, and you have to get out there and pull that to second base, why not just bunt it and get the guy to third? All of us talk about giving up outs with a sacrifice bunt being bad baseball. To me, 1-0 in the first inning is not bad baseball. And when you're 19-5, when you score in the first inning, it's an even better play.
Now, if you have a bad pitching staff, it's not going to help you that much. But on this ball club, 1 run is huge. Robinson hits it hard. Tadaslavich to his left. So the Nats will pick up an unearned run because of the single, the error, the sacrifice, and a ground ball. Robinson, brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you, and by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. A little swing and miss stuff by Doug Fister first inning. The Nats have now scored 15 first inning runs on this homestand. Highlighted, of course, by the 9th spot they dropped on the Pirates Sunday afternoon. Here's A.J. Pierzynski, Joey Trdoslavich, Kelly Johnson. Bunch of lefties around the Braves' middle of the order, so the shift is on. Ian Desmond, the one man who stays home on the left side of the infield. A.J. 2 for 9 in this series. 5 for 24. That's 208 career against Doug Fister. '17th year in the big leagues for 38-year-old A.J. Pierzynski. How many catchers can say anything like that? Ball tailing back to Michael A. Taylor. 4 in a row to start the game for Doug Fister. First inning offense, more details from Dan Kolko.
Bob, this has been a big point for the Nationals this season. Overall, they've outscored their opponents 50-30 in the first inning this year. But since June 13th, 16-0. They have not allowed a first inning run since June 13th, while they've been able to get an early edge on their opponents. 16 first inning runs since June 13th.
And the pitching staff taking care of business early. Doug Fister against Joey Trdoslavich. They match up for the first time. 26-year-old switch-hitting infielder from Sarasota. Went to the same high school that Ian Desmond did. 2-0 pitch. Jacked into right. Pete Robinson playing pretty deep, and that ball on a hop to him. Got to bring in Kelly Johnson, who's had a good series.
I like these random stats. The Nats are 14-10 in their home whites, 12-16 in their all grays, 12-6 with their alternative tops, that's the red ones, and 1-1 in their stars and stripes. I mean, that's some hard-hitting analysis right there.
Should we all start singing Stars and Stripes forever?
14-10 in their whites. That's the best record in all their unis. Well, 12-6 in the red tops.
Pretty good. Oh, 1, and that's inside to Kelly Johnson, who has a little 3-game hitting streak going on, but he's 4 for 9 during that time, and in this series 3 for 6. He's bounced around a bit since he was first with the Braves 05 to 09. Had Tommy John surgery early in his career. Stops in Arizona, Toronto, Tampa Bay, the Bronx, and Boston since. Mercedes-Benz tracks it.
Tried to run it back. Good frame by Wilson Ramos to get the call.
Johnson has bounced into 4 double plays. And there's Johnny Gomes on deck.
Johnny Guns.
Off speed. Kelly Johnson got out, hooked that ball, and was way out ahead. Johnny Gomes had some interesting thoughts he shared with me yesterday about the 2011 Nats that he was a part of. We'll talk about that a bit in a minute. He just regrets he wasn't around to see what happened the following year here. A ball in the air to left for Michael A. Taylor. 2 down. Trdoslavich back to first base.
Well, Johnny Gomes has interesting thoughts on pretty much everything. He's a guy you could sit down and talk to for hours. And his outlook on life, baseball, everything is just so interesting. He might be the most interesting man in baseball.
I think that would be a great commercial for him.
Serious.
The Nats were 80-81 with 1 game rained out. in 2011. They finished 21.5 games behind the Phillies. But Johnny was a part of that team after coming over from the Reds. He hit .204 in 43 games, had a number of timely hits. And he told me he would look around the clubhouse and say, there's just too much talent here for this team not to be real good in the next year or two. And then, of course, the Nats took off the following year, won, 98 games, won the division, went to the playoffs. Johnny spent 2012 with Oakland, where he hit 18 home runs. But he said he could see it coming here in D.C.
Well, I love the fact that when he was a Red Sox, they'd ask him how he's doing every day when he walked into the clubhouse. And his standard answer to every teammate is, we're one day closer to the parade. I mean, that just gets everybody thinking the right way. And it just shows you his outlook on the game of baseball. And he told me, if you had told us we'd be 4 games back on June 25th, I would have said, bring it on. We'd have been skipping in the clubhouse in spring training if you'd have told us that on June 25th.
Well, and he hit a big World Series homer for the Red Sox against St. Louis 2 years ago that really turned around that series on its way back to Boston. 1 ball, 1 strike. Low and inside to Johnny Gomes, now 34 years of age. He's a guy who's overcome a lot of adversity. We talked about the heart attack he had on Christmas Eve 13 years ago because he had a pinched valve in his heart. He was in the hospital after an angioplasty for 5 days. He has had a very close friend that he lost in a car accident that involved Johnny, Adam Westcott. And he's had the AW tattoo for years in tribute to one of his best friends ever. Just a guy that has so much going for him other than baseball. That's in there, 3-2.
Thought it was down. Pitch track thought it was a strike. And so did Mike Esterbrook.
Durdoslovich on the move. Tyler Moore plays behind him at first. And a pop fly is out of play.
Watching the Mets Brewers game today, and heard something I thought was very interesting. They knew the crew in New York, the replay crew in New York. Major League Baseball now announcing the umpiring crew that's working the replay challenges in the Big Apple. And we were talking about that about a week ago, how they should have full disclosure, full transparency. Let us know who's up there. Now they are. We get stuff done here.
Swing and a miss on a big curveball. Durdoslovich stranded. 2 solid innings for Doug Fister, and he has an early lead to work with. The Nats have Ramos, Desmond, and Moore coming up. Bottom of the 2nd. Good stuff by Doug so far.
2-0 lead. We talked yesterday about how the Nationals are mourning the loss of Kimberly Knorr, the wife of bench coach Randy Knorr. She died a couple days ago. Ian Desmond talked last night about how important Knorr has been in his career, and he dedicated the win and his walk-off sacrifice fly to Randy Knorr. Randy was Ian's first professional manager back in 2005. The two have come to know each other incredibly well. And Desmond said last night he would do anything to be able to give Knorr a hug. Tyler Moore has also known Randy Knorr for years. I asked him today what it is about Randy that makes him such a beloved coach. Moore said that Knorr's always so positive, so supportive, and he truly believes in his players, something you don't always find in this game. Randy Knorr, a very kind guy, and these guys have their hearts out for him right now.
Yeah, well said, Dan. We're hurting along with Randy. And we look forward to his return to the ball club whenever it's appropriate for him.
And Randy Knorr's number on the back of Ian Desmond's helmet.
Nice. 0-1 pitch. And Wilson Ramos rams one to the deep gap, way out in left center. Ramos is now 13 for his last 37. And that ball hit extremely hard for his 12th double of the year. And he now has 19 extra base hits.
He's heating up. Hot Buffalo. Got a sinker that was supposed to be in. Matt Whistler leaves it down the middle, and here comes the herd. Herd-o Buffalo for a leadoff double here in the second. Nice swing.
So anyway, Dan, thanks for those nice thoughts on your sideline report, brought to you by Coons.com. When you're talking cars, you're talking Coons. So Ian Desmond steps in with a chance to get the Nats in position for another run, and he was trying to do just that with the bunt.
Good idea. I'll tell you what, it's been a rough few days around here for everybody that's involved in the Nats family, based on what Dan just talked about. But when Ian and Dan had the interview last night, that was good stuff when Ian dedicated the game to Randy Knorr, and just shows you what kind of a guy Ian Desmond is. Always thinking about others, as are we all.
Counts even now, a fastball outside, 1-1. I love hearing Randy tell some of the stories about managing in the minor leagues and some of the, shall we say, brushes he's had with the men in blue. Pretty emotional manager, and he won a championship at Potomac. So many guys who've come up through the organization have been touched by Randy Knorr over the years.
Well, he's a great baseball man, but he's a better person. That's a fact. And we miss him, and we can't wait till he's back. Whenever that is.
Yep. Ian Desmond, a walk and an RBI in this, pardon me. Yeah, sac fly for an RBI and a walk in the series, looking for his first base hit. And the runner, Ramos, back to second. And the Braves have a bad throwing error right there. And it'll be first and third, now second and third with nobody out. And they're going to go ahead and wave Wilson Ramos home, because there's an extra base to be had. He was between second and third, and the Nats lead 2-0 on two gifts now by the Atlanta Braves defense. Wow.
Well, Ian Desmond hustling down the first baseline, and you see Kelly Johnson kind of get in between, and he got rid of it before his feet were under it. How many times do you hear me say throwing errors are made with your feet? Watch his feet. They're not set. He rushes the throw, launches it, and Wilson Ramos scores from second base.
Braves' second error of the day. So the runners trade places, and here's Tyler Moore. And a swing and a foul tip. Good hack. Tyler 0 for 4 in this series, but he was so good against the Pirates over the weekend with 4 hits. He got his batting average up over the 200 mark. He's had 90 official at-bats in 49 games. So opportunities like this have been few and far between, but a little more frequent lately with Ryan Zimmerman still on the DL. He's driven in 13 runs. He's hit 4 home runs.
So when a throw goes into the stands, the runner's awarded 2 bases from where he started. Wilson Ramos on second gets 2 bases because that ball went into the camera well.
And the count's even 2-2. Breaking ball. Baltimore reaching for it. Pedro Ciriaco at shortstop today, and he throws out the Nats' first baseman. That'll bring in Michael A. Taylor. He's had a good series. A sacrifice, 3 hits, and RBI. Batting average up to 250. He had 5 hits in the Pittsburgh series. So when the Pirates came to town last Friday, Michael was hitting .228. And he's on that kind of streak in his season that Dan filled us in on the other day about making more contact, striking out less, and doing a lot of damage from the number 8 spot. Pretty good fastball right on the inside edge, 1-1.
A 2-seam runner. Good frame by AJ. Not something you want to offer at as a hitter, heading the count 1-0. Pitcher strike.
1 ball, 1 strike, target away. Taylor, well hit, center field, Maben back, it is off the wall. Desmond had to hold up for a moment, but he comes roaring home. A late throw, no chance, and Michael A. Taylor does it again. The Nats are on top, 3-0.
Well, you can see on the flyout by Kelly Johnson for the second out in the second that Michael Taylor had to go back on it. The ball's going to carry here today. Michael Taylor hit that ball very well. And I'm looking at Jace Peterson, and he was surprised by the fact that Ian Desmond was going. Watch the relay throw, and Jace Peterson, he goes out and gets the throws. You see the ball hit off the top of the fence, and watch him be surprised right here. Ian Desmond with the shuffle, a late send by Bob Henley at third base. And Peterson kind of looked twice and said, uh-oh, he's going, and it was too late. If he just comes up throwing right there, it would have been a lot closer. I don't know if they would have had Desmond, but it would have been close.
Doug Fister hits one well to left. That ball took off a little bit on Johnny Gomes, 2 outs.
So as a cutoff man, it's your responsibility to roll your head and find the situation. It's also the responsibility of the trail cutoff man, Pedro Ciriaco, to be yelling 4-4-4 or home, home, home. You count on the trail guy to be your eyes, but you also have to be your own eyes when you're going out there. So what you do is you pick up the outfielder, you pick up the plate, you line yourself up in a perfect line to home plate, and then you keep peeking. You keep peeking, you keep peeking, so you know what you're going to do with the ball. As soon as Maben throws it, you already have in your mind, I'm going home. Peterson was surprised right there that Desmond was going home.
Here's Denard Spano, had a great at bat first time up. Fouled off some pitches, hit a hard single to right. And when Markakis mishandled it, Denard went to second. Third on an Espinosa bunt. Home on an Escobar ground ball. And right now the Nats are doing all those little things that are adding up to winning. 2-0.
And it's hard to say that a guy hitting 307 swing looks the best it's looked all year. I said it last night, said it the night before. And I don't know if Denard's back is feeling better, his knee's feeling better, but his swing is so, I don't want to say easy, I want to say violent and under control, which you really haven't seen all this year. I mean, I know he has 5 home runs, but right now he's letting it fly. And as a hitter, how do you do that? Well, you're on time, your foot's down early, your base is underneath you, and it allows you to swing a little bit harder. Very aggressive right now.
And Span, a pop-up left side. This will be close and right into the camera bay.
Josh Donaldson would have caught it.
How about that diving play into the seats he made?
Oh my gosh. Catch of the year. Now, if Kelly Johnson goes for that, he's going about 5 feet deep into cement. Did that almost hit Christina Acra? Now
she got out of dodge.
Now Christina Fitzpatrick. Now sideline reporter for the enemy.
Yeah.
Now we don't even know her anymore.
Who?
Who, huh?
Way outside, 3-1 to Denard Span.
Still hasn't invited us to her house in Atlanta. Actually, she did. Dan and I went over and said hi to her and her husband.
Yeah, she's invited 2 of you.
Last time we played the Braves. Nice little barbecue in her tiny little house she has. Small establishment.
You take your tongue out of your cheek now. 3-2.
Got a great place. I want to be a sideline reporter someday after going to her house.
We'll let that one hang out there for a while. (3-2) with 2 outs, and Michael A. Taylor still in scoring position. Denard sits safely 9 of his last 11 games now. And this one will be popped up as he was way out ahead. He hopes it gets out of play. And that on the rail, and Joey Turdoslavich makes the catch. Then the Nats help him out. And A.J. Przinsky helps him keep his balance.
What a play. Total disregard for his body reaching as far as he can reach. Going into the Nats dugout. Great play by the Braves first baseman. ESPN's going to broadcast that game. Sunday Night Baseball game's going to start at 8:08 p.m. and you're going to get one of these if you're the first 25,000 fans, Steven Strasburg debut bobblehead. Little tip of the cap. He's clean shaven now, but back then he had a goatee. So visit Nationals.com to purchase your tickets and get your Steven Strasburg bobblehead.
7 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits, no walks, 14 strikeouts, 94 pitches, 65 strikes. In his major league debut, and oh yeah, the Nats beat the Pirates 5-2.
I like clean shaven Steven Strasburg. I think he looks good.
The guys with the lumber responded that night. Ryan Zimmerman, Adam Dunn, and Josh Willingham all hit home runs. The 3, 4, 5 hitters in the lineup in what's still the most electrifying big league debut I've ever seen by a pitcher or a position player. Unbelievable.
Might have been a blessing and a curse. Where do you go from there?
True. Two and 1 to Pedro Siriaco. Off-speed pitch. He's giving Andrelton Simmons the day off. Simmons 1 for 8 recently and 3 for 15 career against Doug Fister. Doug's first 2 innings, 35 pitches, 21 strikes. And a chopper that's trouble. Third base line. And Doug wisely holds on. Braves have their second hit. Pittsburgh on the mind after seeing Strasburg there. And the rookie pitcher, Matt Whistler, will have a chance to move a runner. Whistler as a big league hitter, 0 for 2 in his first start against the Mets.
Good speed on first, just get it down in the dirt, should get the job done.
And he does. Really does a good job of guiding that ball over toward Tyler Moore. 3-4 on the sacrifice. Top of the order, Jace Peterson. Fister, as FP noted early, keeping the ball down. And it's good that Mike Estabrook's giving him some calls down there as well. Throwing strikes, using the bottom of the zone. And a good block by Wilson Ramos on the 71-mile-an-hour breaking ball. By the way, they're in the ninth at Milwaukee, and Jacob deGrom is throwing a 4-hitter at the Brewers, leading 2-0. Mets trying to bust a 7-game losing streak today. Estabrook thought about it a moment, called it strike 2. Now the count full. Didn't miss by much. The Nats have their biggest lead of the year in the division. Trying to win their 40th game of the year today. Trying to make it 6 in a row. Big time off speed. And the Braves leadoff man, Jace Peterson, is 0 for 11 in this series. Wow.
Well, Doug Fister's doing this. filling up the strike zone with all of his pitches. It's a tough go for any hitter. Jace Peterson all in on the 3-2 fastball. Gets the slow 12-6 curveball. 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And Peterson can't stay back. That gives you an idea how confident Pfister is feeling about his stuff today to be able to throw that pitch right there.
Nissan driving 71 on that pitch track. Here's Cameron Maben, the center fielder. Ground ball to Desmond first time. Some confusion about the count. Scoreboard says 1-1. I think it's 2-0. I think Mike Estabrook gave a little gesture with his right hand after the pitch, but I don't think he called it a strike. So we'll have to check for sure. We'll see if he raises the fingers and lets everybody know. But looked like Maben was confused.
He'd be turning around and looking up here if he didn't like what was on the scoreboard. So I'm going with 2-1. He's looking out at it. You can see him right there.
That is in there. Braves have had 2 hits. Siriaco at second base, 2 outs. Nick Markakis on deck. Nats want the inning to end right here. Now they have changed it to 3-2. And that is a swing. So a good throw by Ramos ends the inning, and Doug Pfister takes care of business on off-speed stuff here.
I got the count at 3-3 right now.
That's good enough to end the inning to me. Honda do-up. Danny Espinosa getting the war paint on. And against the Braves, no pun intended, 12 for 27 this year, and a sacrifice already today. Top 3-0. They've had a little help from the Atlanta defense, but they've certainly taken advantage. And one of those runs, actually 2 of the runs so far, unearned. So here we go. Playing in the Futures game in Cincinnati, Lucas Giolito and Trey Turner, pitcher, shortstop, on the big showcase surrounding the All-Star game. And that's today's PNC Minor League Report from PNC Bank for the Achiever and you. Well done, guys.
You get the hot tub time machine, Trey Turner could be here next year.
That's Giolito's second in a row, by the way. He played, or at least appeared there last year with Michael A. Taylor. And a ball hit by Danny Espinosa to deep center. Maben found his spot, waiting for it. Bottom of the third underway.
Cameron Maben just ran a hook right.
Here's Yunel Escobar. Hit a nice slow roller to the right side for the RBI in the first inning that put the Nationals on top. Escobar in this series 1 for 10, but a very productive out last time. He's still in the top 7 in the league in hits, in the top 4 in batting average, and in the top 5 against right-handed pitchers. And he jacks that one to the gap in left center. That's going to go to the wall. I don't think there's been any series this year where Escobar's only had 1 hit, so he cruises into second base. 4 homers, a triple, and now 9 doubles.
Well, I mean, if you got nothing to do right now, go to your computer and vote for that guy for the All-Star game. I know there's a lot of competition at third base. He's listed as a second baseman on the ballot, but he's played third all year. He had Arenado from Colorado, Todd Frazier from Cincinnati, but who's been better than Yunel Escobar? And once again, in a day game where neither team hit, he was the only guy out here taking ground balls at third base again, trying to make himself better at a new position.
Yeah. 83 hits in 73 games.
That's impressive. I mean, Drew Storen, check. Bryce Harper, check. Max Scherzer should start the game. If you go look at his whip, his strikeouts to walk, his ERA. Max Scherzer should start the game, and then Yunel Escobar should be there as well, in my opinion. Maybe the next span.
Clint Robinson a base hit up the middle. Bob Henley's going to calmly send the runner. Escobar comes home, and he's in there. Calls himself safe after Mike Estabrook did, and the Nats lead 4-0. And Freddie Gonzalez just gave the umpire a signal that the Braves are going to have a look.
A nice swing by Clint Robinson, a bullet up the middle, and it held Cameron Maben back. Watch Cameron Maben. He has to stay back on this ball to play the hop. Watch him stop. And that little stop right there is what made Bob Henley send Yunel Escobar. He just beats the tag, and he calls himself safe. If Maben comes and gets that, he's going to have to field it in between hop. That's why he stayed back. And the fact that he stayed back allowed Escobar just to nip the corner of the plate.
And the Braves are challenging.
Call himself safe, and Bryce Harper laughing like I was about Yunel Escobar playing umpire after the play. I love watching Yunel Escobar play baseball. Who has more fun than Yunel Escobar? Maybe Miguel Cabrera, but that's about it.
So the call was made by the home plate umpire, Mike Estabrook. The crew chief coming in from first, Dana DeMuth, joins him. And they're having quite a bit of a discussion here before the headsets even go on. Or is there a question about, well, we'll just wait and see. All the players are turned around looking at the video board, but nothing up there yet.
Yeah, put something on the board, like a movie or something. League of Their Own, something, while we're waiting for this.
The headsets never went on. And Dana DeMuth is explaining something, and now, of course, Mike Estabrook in on it.
You could almost hear him. Freddie said he's challenging that he was out. That's all he was challenging. And I think AJ's looking over at his manager saying, hey, you was safe. So watch how Cameron Maybin has to stay back. Stop, hit the brakes, play it on a hop. And then just kind of eases one in there. And what do we got here? I thought he hit the front corner of the plate or the back corner of the plate. And maybe Freddie Gonzalez is saying that Yunel Escobar never touched the plate. Pretty good right there. Does he hit the plate?
That's tough. Looked to me like he skidded right over the top of the plate, and Brzezinski's tag was pretty late.
He has to be contending that Yunel Escobar never touched the plate. Has to be. That's the only thing.
Hard to believe that after the safe call, it would be indisputable for them to overturn it, but we've said that before.
Looks like he hits the side corner of the plate. Yeah, watch the corner of the plate right there. I mean, with all the dirt flying, I think he got that part of the plate right there.
The score is 4-0 Washington. He's safe. Braves are out of challenges.
That wasn't a good challenge, and we've seen Freddie Gonzalez be very efficient with the challenge so far in the series versus the Nats. He's had a number of calls overturned in this series. Maybe some frustration losing the first two games right there, using his challenge in the third. I didn't think that was a good challenge.
So after over 2.5 minutes, Clint Robinson collects his 9th RBI. Great swing by him. Here's Ramos, who really hit the ball hard his last time up. And the Nats have solved the rookie Whistler now for 5 hits, while he's registered only 7 outs. Of course, his defense hasn't helped him either. And a breaking ball is in there to Wilson Ramos. Counts even 1-1.
So Bruce Bochy's going to get a chance to see Yunel Escobar in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July. And usually what managers do when they haven't seen a guy play a lot, they ask the manager of the ball club, hey, is this guy an all-star? Is this guy an all-star? Just a phone call, courtesy phone call. Who you got, Matt Williams? Who are your all-stars? And then you see if you can fit them in, you know, based on spots you have and roster availability.
2-1 to Ramos. Well, the Mets did break their losing streak today. They just beat Milwaukee 2-0. So they're back to 500 at 37-37. The Braves are at 35-37, and the Nats still 3 up on the Mets. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Ramos. And a bouncing ball right side. Braves a chance to turn 2. Siriaco goes airborne. And on the rather long hop, Terdoslavich unable to grab it with his mitt.
Good slide by Clint Robinson. Going in there hard. And Pedro Siriaco had to get some air, and the fact that he left his feet made the throw go in the dirt. Watch Clint Robinson going in there hard, playing some good old-fashioned country hard ball. And Siriaco coming across, didn't clear himself, went right into the runner. Look at where he's going to throw this ball. Most of the time you see a shortstop come out here, get wide, he goes right at the runner, and that's what causes the traffic. No way Clint Robinson has a chance to do anything to Siriaco right there if he clears himself, and the expo is just incredible.
Wow. Looks like Clint's right hand deflected off of his knee. So no error on the play, can't assume the double play, but the inning is alive for Ian Desmond with Ramos at first. Desmond hit the ball to third that Kelly Johnson threw away last inning. Came around to score eventually. Lights are starting to take effect here as the skies are getting a little darker. One and two to Desmond with 2 outs. In the air, right center. Ball carrying and out of here. Ian Desmond the other way. The Nats lead 6-0.
Who's taking off Ian Desmond's helmet? Jose Lobaton, check. So you got the monkey off his back last night with the walk-off sac fly. You had a feeling he'd come out here a little more loose today. Reached on an error, scored a run his first time up. 6 home run his second time up. And if he gets hot, the way this ball club's playing right now, look out National League. And look out American League.
Tyler Moore, ground ball to short first time. And that curveball outside. Matt Whistler gives up a homer in the big leagues for the first time. And that was a big fly. It's 375 to the middle of that scoreboard. And then about another 13.5 feet up in the air to clear that thing.
Yeah, give Clint Robinson a little assist on this for keeping the inning going with that hard slide to second base. He doesn't slide hard into second. That ball doesn't go in the dirt. Ian Desmond doesn't have home run number 6, or at least a 2-run homer.
2-1 pitch. Tyler Moore just spanking one into left field. And the Nats have 4 hits in this inning.
Line is moving. Ian Desmond feeling good.
Michael A. Taylor, the next hitter, and he doubled last time. Roger McDowell trotting to the mound. So the Nats have scored in every inning here. I kind of like the trend. 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third.
A good trend now would be to start making some outs, since it's going to be raining frogs here in about an hour and a half.
Okay, that's enough time to get 6 outs.
Maybe an hour.
.93 on the heater, strike 1. That's a pitch that Michael A. was missing by a wide margin earlier this year. Starting to ID some of those breaking balls a whole lot better.
Just playing more, man. You get into a rhythm. You make adjustments in the course of an at-bat. Get into the flow. You feel like part of the ball club. And when you're in the minor leagues playing every day, you can make those adjustments day to day, at-bat to at-bat, even pitch to pitch. When you're pinch hitting or spot starting, you don't have the ability to make adjustments pitch to pitch. You're just going on what you practice in the cage and hoping it works in the game.
I mean, he's just spitting on everything It's not in the strike zone, 3-1.
When you have the luxury of 4 at-bats every single day, you can tell yourself, I was a little bit late with my foot right there. I got to get my stride down. I didn't pick up that ball for some reason. I got to keep my head still. These are the thoughts you tell yourself between pitches. When you're playing once a week, you're saying, I got to get a hit or I'm not going to play tomorrow. And you don't think like that.
Taylor gashes one to center, right at Maben. The highlight of the inning, though, after the takeout slide by Clint Robinson, Ian Desmond, 6th home run of the year, the 97th of his big league career. No doubt he's capable of great things when he takes the ball that way.
First, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and probably 4 in the fourth. Come out to Nats Park for a 3-game Independence Day weekend series. That's July 3rd through the 5th. Nats are going to take on the Giants. That'll be a great series. 11 o'clock start on the 4th of July. Mark that down. Nats, Giants, big-time series. Go to Nationals.com to get your tickets today.
Nick Markakis, top of the 4th inning, pitch number 54 from Doug Fister, his 32nd strike. Fly ball to center for the Braves right fielder, first time up.
You know how big that streak was? On June 18th, he established the all-time Major League record for consecutive errorless games by an outfielder or a non-pitcher.
Wow.
Remember, Darren Lewis had the old streak from 1990 to 1994 with the Giants. The longest one-position errorless streaks in Major League Baseball history by an outfielder, and he made one here in the first today. That's how big that streak was.
Yeah, on a routine base hit to right field. Boy, what a great pitch by Doug Fister. He got right in on the trademark of Markakis to pop him up. A.J. Pierzynski and Joey Turdoslavich, the next 2 Braves, here in the top of the 4th. Shift is on. And then the fly ball goes the other way. Michael A. Taylor had to come in about 5 steps, and that's it. 2 out. Inside the numbers with Jeep, and the Nats are dominating the Braves. They're trying to make it 8-1 on the year. The runs, including today's, and the home run, including Desmond's, showed the Nats' domination. And look at the difference in the bullpens. What a difference the absence of Kimbrel, Walden, O'Flaherty, David Carpenter have made for the Braves against the Nats. Used to be a 6 or 7 inning game when you played these guys.
Well, the Nats are better, and they have been better for a couple of years, regardless of who the Braves have on their roster. You don't want to take anything away from them. They've been playing good baseball, and remember, even as early as last year, everywhere you go around town. How come they can't beat the Braves? What's wrong with the Nats? They can't beat the Braves. 14-5 in their last 19 against Atlanta.
Doug Fister, bouncing ball right side. Espinosa, and that's the way to go out and get not one, not two, but 3 shutdown innings in a row. Go President's Race, and they're on the segways today. Something we're really good at up here in the booth, but evidently Teddy. And I bet Thomas Jefferson's going to win 2 in a row because Brian O'Connor and his Cavaliers won the College World Series championship last night over Vanderbilt, who knocked them out last year. Congratulations to all you Wahoos out there, including Ryan Zimmerman. A great presence still in that baseball program down in Charlottesville. There's Doug Fister, bottom of the 4th. Fly ball to lefty, hit it well, first time up. Out of play, 1-1.
Good hack.
One outside, it's 2-1. Welcome to those of you who saw the Orioles and the Red Sox today at Fenway. 8-6 Baltimore win. And you're back just in time for the bottom of the 4th leadoff man. And that's Doug Fister, who singles. He has shut down the Braves on 2 hits. The Nats have 6 runs, highlighted by a 3-run third, a 2-run homer by Ian Desmond. Everything going right for the Nats, trying to win their 6th in a row.
Doug Fister, 2 good at bats today. It went deep to left field on a line his first time up, and now a base hit to right, second time up.
8 Washington hits. Denard Span 1 for 2 today. Base hit in the first. Later scored on an Escobar ground ball after an error by Nick Markakis. His first in right field in 2.5 years. And a ground ball after a sacrifice. 398 games. I know a lot of you Oriole fans who might have just joined us remember all the great things he did in that outfield. 0-1 pitch. And that's low and away.
August 11th, 2012, the last time he made an error.
Wow.
The longest one-position errorless streak in Major League history by an outfielder. It was a hard ground ball, but the only routine plays are the ones that have already been made. No such thing as a routine play in baseball.
1 ball, 1 strike. Denard Span. Maybin back a couple of steps, and then he comes in to grab it for the first out. So the next 5 for the Nats. Max Scherzer at Philadelphia against Aaron Harang tomorrow night. Gio against rookie Adam Morgan Saturday afternoon. Steven Strasburg. Kevin Correa on Sunday afternoon. And then it's on to Atlanta after an off day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. At the home of the Braves, where the Nats won 2 out of 3 earlier.
Is he going Johnny Vandermeer on us? I know everywhere I go, people think it's that easy. They're like, oh, he's going to do it. I know he's going to do it. It's not that easy.
Well, you know what? He'd have to walk 11 guys tomorrow night to do it. But you're talking about the consecutive no-hitters.
Yeah, back to back.
Johnny Vandermeer of the Reds, the only man ever to do it back in the 40s. It's an intriguing matchup going the way he is against a struggling Philly team. But as you mentioned, the Phillies are better at home.
I mean, this one in New York could beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 too. They're swinging it. So
yeah, they're 17-19 at the bank. And Danny Espinosa fouls one back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Franco's swinging it. Ryan Howard's been swinging the bat well. Chase Utley on the 15-day DL.
And then when the Nats go back to Atlanta next week, they'll still miss Freddie Freeman, who has that wrist contusion and is on the DL himself.
The fact that fans are even thinking that tells you all you need to know about Max Scherzer's season so far. The fact that maybe even we're thinking it.
The audacity to even bring it up.
I mean, it's
crazy.
He flirted with back-to-back perfect games.
Danny Espinosa hits one well up the middle. And the Nats are really swinging the bats today. That's 9 base hits, while the Atlanta pitcher has registered 10 outs. First hit of the day for Espinosa. Atlanta bullpen getting busy now.
Got him extend down in the zone. Really dig that one out. It's been fun to watch Danny Espinosa play this year. He's playing the game the right way. Good at bats majority of the time, making plays wherever you put him. Playing hard.
Escobar has an RBI grounder and a double to left center. Everybody, including the pitcher, with a base hit at least today. Escobar to short, Siriaco to Peterson. He double clutches, and they're still able to turn the 6-4-3. So on to the 5th inning. The Nats all over the Braves on 9 hits, leading 6-0.
Important connection, 6-0 Nats as we head to the top of the 5th inning. Wilson Ramos a double, his 12th. Yunel Escobar double, his 9th. Ian Desmond a 2-run homer, his 6th. We're going to show you the 3rd inning. And Clint Robinson with a bullet up the middle. This is where all the fun started. Cameron Maben had to lay back, makes a nice throw to the plate. Yunel Escobar, watch him, he is safe. His call way better than Mike Estabrooks. And then Clint Robinson with a good takeout slide of Pedro Siriaco. That keeps the inning going. Should have been a 4-6-3 double play for Wilson Ramos to end it. Ian Desmond walks up, hits a 2-run tater, and turns it into a 3-run third and makes it 6-0.
Doug Fister, a 7-pitch fourth inning, 6 strikes, and he picks right up in the 5th inning against Kelly Johnson. Fly ball to left. First time up for the Braves third baseman, who's also made a costly throwing error today. And that's out of play, left side, 0-2.
You know what I want to see? Yunel Escobar with the play at the plate, bounce up after slide and ring himself up for the 3rd out. Just pop up and call himself out. That would be awesome.
What a good off-speed pitch, but it went foul.
I mean, really get into it with the crow hop and everything, and just, the fist
punch
toward the
himself
ground.
out, huh?
I mean, if you're going to call yourself safe, got to call yourself out sometimes. Yeah, you got me. Boom.
A ball drilled to right center. Over. Robinson takes it on a hop. That kept it from getting to the scoreboard. Thought for a moment Clinton might get there. And Kelly Johnson drops a single into the gap.
Then Clint Robinson, based on the way the ball was carrying today, kind of went back on that one, where if he took a more direct route, he might have had it. First base one night, right field the next night. Did a good job of keeping it in front of him and holding Johnson just to a single.
That'll bring in Johnny Gomes. That's only the Braves' 3rd single of the day. One of them by Siriaco earlier on the infield. Johnny Gomes in this series 0 for 2, struck out swinging first time up. That ball ripped. Foul, it's called. Good looking glove. And it's got a Major League Baseball in it. Game used.
That is cool. Offense is cool.
1 ball, 1 strike. 86 up and away. Unreachable for the right-handed batter. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Little cutter right here at 86. Watch it kind of move away from Johnny Gomes. You can tell by the way Ramos catches that. .82% fastball so far from Fister. He's had a nice feel for the sinker. He's kept it down majority of the day. This is where he started to get a little fatigued in his first start back last time.
Got him. Johnny Gomes just stood there and let the ball hit him. Got that guard on. 2 on, nobody out. Pedro Siriaco, the number 8 hitter, hit a ball about 45, 50 feet down the third baseline last time up for a hit. And Fister missing inside to him.
See how those elbow guards now are sticking off the elbow about a good 2 inches? It seems like they all do that. Johnny Gomes the same way. His was kind of hanging down a couple of inches off the elbow.
The now famous Jose Tapia model.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That's 2 inches that normally isn't part of your body. And if I still haven't turned the page on the 2001 Derek Jeter play, don't expect me to turn the page on that anytime soon.
Denard Span for the first out. Tagging, heading for third. Kelly Johnson back to first. Johnny Gomes. It's an out. The first one here in the top of the fifth inning. Well, we'll put it this way. With first and third, one out, there's a long scoreless streak by the starting staff at stake here. Yuri Perez will be pinch hitting for the starter, Matt Whistler. And a bouncing ball to short. They'll have to hurry for two. It is out at first. And the scoreless streak continues. 39 and a third innings after the Nats turn a bang-bang 6-4-3. Wow.
Normally don't get that excited on a 6-4-3 double play, but
in a 6-0 game.
Yuri Perez, the streak is over. There's no way they're turning this on him. They just did. Wow.
Franchise record with 39 and a third consecutive scoreless innings by the starting staff. Only the Indians 7 years ago better. So it's new for the Nats here, and those are numbers since the turn of the century back in 2000. And it took a bang-bang double play to get that accomplished.
And you're thinking there's no way you get Yuri Perez. This guy can flat out get it. But Ian Desmond got rid of it quick. Danny Espinosa got rid of it quick with something on it. And even if Freddie Gonzalez thought he was safe, he's out of challenges. And it was close. Good stretch by Tyler Moore, blowing a bubble.
Ian Desmond hit the sac fly last night against this pitcher that ended the game, David Aardsma, back on the mound in relief of Matt Whistler, the rookie, who gave up 6 runs, 4 earned on 9 hits in 4 innings. Aardsma's 7th game of the year. Tough to hit so far. In fact, lefties have nothing against him. And it's Clint Robinson leading off.
That 2008 Indians team had Cliff Lee, CC Sabathia, Jake Westbrook. I mean, that's a pretty good staff they had in 2008.
Well, 40 would be a nice number with 2 outs in the 6th.
Paul Bird was on that staff. AKA Fraser Crane.
Clint Robinson has hit the ball hard 3 times today. RBI single up the middle last time. Clean hit to right this time. Ramos coming in. Dan has more.
Bob, Wilson Ramos has played in 56 of the Nats' 73 games this season, putting him on pace for 126 games played this season. That would set a career high by a pretty good margin for him. Ramos's health has obviously played a big part in his high workload this season, and the Nats obviously hope he stays healthy enough to be able to give him 115, 125 games this year. That's long been a goal for Ramos, and he tailored his workouts this offseason to give him more flexibility in his lower half to hopefully allow for a heavier workload. He's gotten it so far this season.
Last time he played more than 100 games, his 113 in the 2011 season. Hardsma kind of turned his back on the ball and got lucky as it fell at his feet for the first out. Robinson to second.
Did he do yoga in the park with everybody after the ball game, Ramos?
I don't know.
It's good for your flexibility.
So here's Ian Desmond, suddenly resurgent. In his last 3 at-bats have yielded 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and his 6th homer of the year.
Yeah, number 4 was the Tater. Hit speed 96.
I mean, that ball was really high, and when it came down, it was about 390 to right center. Desmond, not including the sac fly, 2 for 3 career against Hardsma. To the bag himself is Terdoslavich. That's his second out here in the 5th inning, and Clint Robinson over to third.
You know the trivia about David Hardsma, right?
No.
He's first in the baseball encyclopedia. He overtook Hank Aaron.
Yeah, RD over RO, huh?
Yeah. He upstaged Hank Aaron in Atlanta. Who does that?
That's hard to believe.
It is. He was in San Jose when I was coaching there, and we used to call him Hardsma.
First in line in grade school for the cafeteria and probably always had to sit right in front of the teacher, though.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Front row every class.
Yeah. Give me Zimmerman anytime. I went to high school with a guy named Zygmunt, Z-Y-G.
Oh.
Never saw him in 4 years.
It's because he was last in everything.
He was, except grade point average.
All right.
2-0 pitch. Tyler Moore got a fastball off to the right. It goes 2 balls, 1 strike. Hardsma, first year in the big leagues, 0-4 with the Giants. Stops at Wrigley, Comiskey, Fenway, Seattle, the Bronx, the Mets since. And a ball stays upstairs, 81 on the off speed, 3-1.
Just missed. Good take.
And Tyler Moore airing it out on 94. The count goes full. Rifled a base hit to left field last time up. And a good take. Good at bat. Tyler's board. 2 on 2 out for Michael A. Taylor, who's had 2 great at bats today. The Nats rookie now 4 out of 9 in this series with 2 RBIs. He's also laid down a sac bunt, a double off the center field wall in the second, and a line drive caught to center 1 inning later. And Michael A. Taylor's batting average is up to a season high 253.
You would think as the trade deadline approaches that teams would be asking about the guy in the batter's box right now. Should the Nats want to do something?
I would guess that could be a short conversation.
Or not. Never know.
Robinson at third, Moore at first, 2 outs. And a breaking ball hit down to third for Kelly Johnson. On target this time. The Nats are gone in the 5th. They've stranded 5, but they have scored 6, trying to sweep the Braves again.
Inning come out to Nats Park Friday, July 3rd. Nats take on the Giants. That's a 6:05 start. The 4th and 11 o'clock start. Celebrate Independence Day with post-game Freedom Fireworks. That's presented by Associated Builders and Contractors. Enjoy a performance from the United States Navy Ceremonial Guard Drill Team to kick off the display. For information and to purchase tickets, go to nationals.com.
Congratulations, Ryan Zimmerman, on your Cavaliers. Doug Fister, 73 pitches, 47 strikes through 5. And as we chronicled for you, 87 pitches, his first time back last week. He's given the Braves no runs on 3 hits, hit a batter. Double play ball took care of that last inning. And Jace Peterson has hit a fly ball to left and struck out swinging. And the last time, Doug almost had him corkscrewing into the ground on a 71-mile-an-hour pitch, swing and a miss.
3-2 curveball.
2-0. Ball 3. On the year, 50 innings. 24 strikeouts, 10 walks. In the strike zone again, counts full. Top 4 hitters, 0 for 8. And a ball rifled to center. Denard Spans got it. Tremendous jump. And while sliding, staying under control.
90% of playing the outfield is being ready for the baseball. And you see Denard Span having to ID that ball, took a little jab step, and then once he realizes it was going to fall in front of him, came flying in and just takes it right off the grass. And you see the ball through his webbing. Doug Fister appreciates it. You got a good tempo, you're throwing strikes, defenders on their toes.
Cameron Maybin next. That's on the outside edge.
Now, who do you got in center field in the National League? Jock Peterson, obviously. Andrew McCutchen. Talking about all-stars.
Yeah. That ball well hit. It's going to plug the gap. Cameron Maybin on a ball cut off by Michael A. Taylor into second base with 1 out, 6th inning.
Denard Span all over the place. Hashtag spanning last night. You just saw the sliding catch today. He made a nice catch in the first inning as well. And here's one of his plays last night. Just a little stretching out on the grass. Maybe some yoga in the park. And once he IDs this one, he comes a long way to make a running catch. That was at twilight, by the way. I don't think Bryce Harper really saw that ball. And then the nice throw to second base on a big-time base running error by Joey Turdoslavich that may... Well, it was a big play in the game, let's just say that.
That was in the 9th inning when the Braves had just tied the game on that fly ball.
Just a crazy base running play last night that we didn't really talk about because we were watching the bucket of filth and everything at home plate. Is I have no idea why Wilson Ramos tagged up at second and went to third on Ian Desmond's sac fly. That could have been a double play, and if he's out at third before the run scores at home, we're still playing.
Clint Robinson with a basket catch on the run. And so the new record scoring streak for the starting staff makes it to 40 innings now. Franchise record. The 81 Expos have been surpassed.
Anytime you surpass the 81 Expos, that was a good ball club. Was that the year that they lost to the Dodgers in the playoffs?
The Rick Monday homer?
Blue Monday. Strike year. They had winners of the first half, winners of the second half, I believe.
Yep, they lost to the Dodgers in 5 games on the Rick Monday homer.
Yes.
They had won the division series against the Phillies.
I remember the most useless things, I swear. That's why I'm good at Jeopardy. Couldn't tell you what happened 20 minutes ago.
I can. It didn't rain. They were concerned about the weather getting through the 5th inning, and if anything, the skies have brightened a bit here. A.J. Przinsky in a 1-1 count. That's right off the end of the bat. Dennis Martinez was on that team. Oil Can Boyd, Rick Mailer, Ron Darling made a few appearances. Jeff Facero, pretty solid lefty. Mel Rojas.
In 81? No.
Did I go 91?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm off by 10 years.
That's all right.
That's what happens when a play-by-play guy tries to go analyst.
This made me feel ancient, by the way. Like, wait a minute, I played with all these guys.
Played with all those guys.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't there in '81.
And this ball is slicing away out of play. How about Steve Rogers?
There you go.
Bill Gullickson, Scott Sanderson, Charlie Lee.
Spaceman.
Pretty good closer, and Jeff Reardon, of course.
Big beard.
.40 innings. 1 ball and 2 strikes to A.J. Pierzynski with Espinosa on the grass out in right, and A.J. battling here.
It's number 93 coming for Doug Fister. 92 pitches right now, 60 strikes, 32 balls.
Two balls, 2 strikes. So 20 pitches this inning for Doug Fister. And Nissan tracks the entire at bat, that one way inside. The 2-2, Espinosa, right field. He's got the arm, we all know that. And the Nats starting staff just keeps on doing it. Might be it for Fister today. And a very solid 6 for him. Wait to grab his helmet, his gloves, and his bat to lead off the bottom of the 6th inning. So we assume he is staying in the ballgame. Sometimes a pitcher will hit and then leave, but maybe not. But his return now really kind of cements what's going on with this pitching staff.
It does. I mean, getting out of the jam right there, jam with the runner on second base. And we had a shot of Matt Williams going over and ask him how he felt. He had his back to Matt Williams with his elbow guard on already, and I think that said everything. I'm going to hit, and I'm staying in this game.
He says, how you feeling? I'll tell you after I hit.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, he's hitting .313. Who knows if he stays in this game or not? This might not tell the story. He has a pinch hit single off the bench this year.
But there is nobody warming up. And Doug Fister swings over the top of that one. Base hit last time up. As FP mentioned, on the year, 5 for 16. Looks like he and Max Scherzer are going to really battle it out this year for the staff batting title. Jordan Zimmerman will be heard from before it's over. And a bouncing ball right side, maybe at this stage of the game, a good thing to happen. Go take a breather. Top of the order, Span and Espinosa. As we told you earlier, everybody in the lineup has checked in with a hit. Clint Robinson a couple now. driving in his 9th run back in the 3rd, adding a single in the 5th inning. And the big blow that really let everybody kind of exhale, the Ian Desmond 2-run homer capping off a 3-run 3rd to put the Nats up 6-0. Span 1 for 3. Hits that ball well. Out to the gap in left center. Maybin over to grab it. 2 down.
Washington Nationals Beltway Burger Pack is back for Thursdays and Fridays this season at Nats Park. Receive a game ticket, burger, fries, and a drink starting at just $400. No, $25. Visit nationals.com/burger pack for more details. $25 for a burger and fries. I am in. Where's mine? Go for one right now.
The Phillies have to deal with Max Scherzer tomorrow night. Danny Espinosa 1 for 2 with a sacrifice and a clean single up the middle in the 4th inning. He's approaching the 250 batting mark from the left side of the plate. And as well as he has been swinging at .333 from the right side this year, things are starting to add up for Espinosa, trying to get his batting average up around .270. .81 upstairs, couldn't get it. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
See, Espinosa's got an elbow guard on, but it's under his sleeve, so it's not sticking out further. See that? Or he just got massive triceps, but no, it's an elbow guard.
Yeah. Swing and a miss on 91. A 1-2-3 6th inning. David Ardsma spinning 2 scoreless frames. This one into the 7th, and it's all Washington.
Be solid today based on where his location was of all of his pitches, especially the 2-seam fastball. It's been down in the zone. The curveball has been the out pitch, so he's got 3 strikeouts. We're showing you the strikeouts. They've done a nice job incorporating everybody behind him. The tempo's been fantastic, and he has been good. Now it's time for Toyota Case for Kids. The Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by a Nats pitcher this season.
Pitch number 95 coming.
I mean, and I have to tell the fans at home, Doug Fister almost sprinted to the mound. He and Wilson Ramos were finished with the warm-up pitches before everybody got out to defense. He had to stand there and wait for everybody to get to their position. And they looked at Danny Espinosa and said, "We're throwing it down. Are you ready?" So, I mean, you talk about ready to pitch this inning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a weird scene. It was just he and Wilson Ramos playing catch with nobody on defense.
Close to paint on 0-2 right there. He pitches and warms up like guys used to before games were televised. And there were no mandatory times between innings. Haven't seen Blake Trinan in several days, and he's warming up. Then Doug Fister misses low and away, 2-2. Next pitch will be number 100. Even over 100 twice in a row against St. Louis and at Atlanta back in April. And that one just freezes Joey Trdoslavich, and strikeout number 4.
Mercedes on the pitch track. This one was close to the top of the zone, and it clearly was a strike.
Yeah, 7th inning, getting some calls.
Wilson Ramos turns his glove just a little, pulls it back in just a little. Nicely done.
And a strike to Kelly Johnson. .85 the foul tip, 0-2. Then he goes breaking ball, caught on the line by Danny Espinosa. 2 outs in the 7th. As we get to the 6 o'clock hour, we can look out from our perch way up there and see traffic moving slowly through town. But the Nats have been all over with traffic on the bases today. They had 7 hits in the first 3 innings, 6 runs on 10 hits today. And here's Johnny Gomes, the ex-Nat, 0 for 1 and hit by a pitch. Check swing. He went, says Dana DeMuth, the crew chief down at first.
Big slow curveball, and pretty obvious that he went too far.
I mean, they just haven't been able to have any sense of timing against Doug Fister today. 3 singles, a double. All he's given up. 1 hit batter, Gomes last time, who didn't move on an off-speed pitch that got his elbow guard. And a 2-2 pitch here. Just kept everybody busy. And he went off speed there on 3-2 and just dropped it into the dirt. Johnny Gomes on for the 2nd time. That's Doug Fister's first walk. Number 8 hitter Pedro Siriaco next.
I don't know if Doug Fister was all in on that 3-2 pitch. Up by 6 runs. They went 3-2 curveball to Johnny Gomes. Kind of held on to it too long.
.85 in there.
Trying to mix it up late, give them different looks.
If the inning continues, pitcher spot due up, and that's Juan Uribe, who's 0 for 5 in this series. And a ball out to center for Denard Span. Doug Fister, 5 innings in his return last week, 5 1/3 on 87 pitches, and 7 shutout innings here today. It's the Hyundai 7th inning stretch right down the river from the Navy Yard here at Nationals Park. A great day for Nats baseball, trying to sweep Atlanta. by authority of the Washington Nationals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. What a day for Doug Fister. 111 pitches, 72 strikes, done after 7. And a 4-hitter with the Nats on top by 6. Help your favorite Nats. Harper, Escobar, Span, Storin, you name them. You can help send them to Cincinnati. Visit nationals.com/vote before it closes on July 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Vote for the Nats up to 35 times. You could be eligible for a 50% off ticket offer.
Well, it's time for our T-Mobile game changer. And, you know, we have to show you this Markakis error again. The first in 398 game. Watch a hop the ball takes here. Kind of took a funny hop there at the end, right? I don't know what it hit. Spike mark, sprinkler head, something. But the first error for Markakis in 398 straight games. I mean, that's his last error, August 11th, 2012. And that's some kind of streak. A tip of the cap from the booth to you, Nick Markakis. That was a tough hop and a tough error. And it may have had something to do with this game. Denard Span got the second on it, led the game off with a single, sack, bunt. But it's quite a streak. And there's streaks all over the place. We're streaking.
I could see that coming.
I was going to score this innings by a starting staff. There you go.
3 innings away, 3 1/3 from the all-time, at least since 2000, best by any starting staff in baseball. So bottom of the 7th, Escobar, Robinson, Ramos. David Aardsma right now, the guy who's saving the Atlanta bullpen. Escobar, a double in 3 trips, RBI ground ball.
So 6 different starters in that streak. Remember, Joe Ross got the party started on Friday against a Pittsburgh Pirates team that's in second place and was, I believe, at least 10 games over. They're 9 over right now. And an Atlanta Braves team who just came off a weekend sweep of the New York Mets. So, like I said last night, that streak's not against bottom feeders. It's against some good baseball teams.
Pirates were 12 over when they came to town last Friday. And by the way, that's where the Braves are going from here to Pittsburgh. They'll see Morton, Liriano, and Locke over there. Nats will be in Philadelphia with Max Scherzer going tomorrow night. 2 balls, 2 strikes as Escobar fouls one off. Robinson and Ramos to follow him here in the 7th. David Aardsma's pitched 2 scoreless innings, a walk, a hit, a strikeout in the 5th and the 6th, trying to have the Braves not get their bullpen too beat up. Fastball up and away, couldn't reach it at 92.
Nissan tracks the 92 for sponsorship purposes. Strike 3. How about the day Clint Robinson's had? I mean, he hit a bullet his first time up to Joey Terdoslavich at first, and then base hit, little 2 for 3, couple of singles, and RBI. Average up to 269 for Clint Robinson.
Yeah. Sitting 313 over his last 15 ball games now. He arrived at the 100 at bat mark last night. Most time he has ever spent in the big leagues in one season by far. Then he hacks it straight back, 1-1.
That bat is not working anymore. I don't want it. Here, you take it. That one had a hole in it.
Nobody expects to have a bat handed to them during the game.
No, and
one that's not broken.
It had a double earlier in the game, but it went 6-4-3 double play, and then had a hole in it right there for strike 3. So he said, "I don't want it. You can have it." Awesome. Look at the smile on her face. That's something she'll remember forever. That's fantastic.
She has a new favorite Nat.
She's celebrating.
2-1 to Clint Robinson. I like the way our camera people never give up on a play. They follow it right to the end.
They do. And
we get to see things that we normally would not have noticed.
They know the
it's great
number of my apartment. They follow me home every night. They don't give up on anything.
Creeping me out a little.
Yeah. So if the Nats hang on and win this, I have to bring broken walk-off Zimmerman bobblehead on the road.
He's got to go, yeah.
He's got to go, doesn't he? Yeah. Long way to go here, but if they hang on, I'll bring them. Both pieces or just one?
Whole thing. 3-2 to Robinson. He's batting a season high .269. And he's on base again. Clint having some really good at-bats today. With Bryce Harper getting a day off in the cleanup spot. Has 2 singles, a run batted in, and now a base on balls. Wilson Ramos next. Two runs scored today. In the second after a leadoff double. In the third after a fielder's choice grounder. When Clint Robinson took out Pedro Siriaco and kept the inning going for Desmond to hit a 2-run homer. That'll be a 6-4-3 double play ball, and this one into the 8th. So Doug Fister, fantastic, up to the bullpen now to get the final 6 outs. Rover, above and beyond. And by Ocean City, Maryland. Put your vacation days to good use. In Ocean City, Maryland, book now at OCOcean.com. Great crowd today, 37,874. The Nats continue their climb toward a 34,000 per game average. And this call to the bullpen packaged by the UPS store. It's your one-stop shop for all your small business needs. Let us handle your mailbox service needs. We love logistics. And Blake Trinan gets the call, his 28th appearance.
Fastball been averaging 96 miles an hour this year. The slider 86, more of a hard curve, I guess. 28th appearance for Blake Trinan. 39 strikeouts, 16 walks in 34 innings. Look at right, he's hitting 185 against the turbo sinker. Lefty's much better at 359.
First appearance of this series. We assume it's a double switch, and yes, Matt Dendecker is batting 9th and now playing right field. Pitcher spot is the cleanup spot for the Nats. because the starters have been going so deep. We haven't seen Blake Treinen since last Thursday against Tampa Bay. There's the slider outside. And so Chris Johnson takes one low and inside, hitting for the pitcher.
You got Chris Johnson, a guy that loves to hit the ball the other way. And Blake Treinen's sinker, it's 96, 98, born in on Johnson. That's the pitch you want to throw him. If he can hit that, tip your cap, 6-0 lead. Here it is, hit it.
Chris Johnson, 6 at-bats. Actually, 4 at-bats in this series, and he's 2 for 4. Been battling some hand problems this year. Had him on the DL. Has been banged up. Fractured his left hand earlier. And Treinen on a 2-2 pitch. Johnson's 0 for 4 career against him, and that will get him looking on the outside edge.
And Chris Johnson just wore a 6-0 lead on this one. I don't know if this was a strike. But you know as a hitter, when you come up in a game that's like this, that you got to be hacking.
There's Jace Peterson, robbed by Denard Span last time up.
Got to get a new one.
Yeah, that didn't sound good.
He's got choices.
Counts even, 1-1.
Well, it's tough for a sinker ball guy, even if you throw 98, to have as much time off as Blake Treinen's had and not go out there and be overamped and throw your pitch through the sink. But he's so easy right now with his delivery and so quiet with his upper body that he's actually getting that sink with 98.
And he's got things going in the dirt all over the place here for 2 strikeouts in the 8th inning. So with more on Blake Treinen, here's Dan.
All right, Bob, here's a cool Blake Treinen story from before the game for you. So he was coming off after throwing in the outfield, and there's a young Nats fan, there he is, who was standing by looking for autographs. He gave Treinen a bracelet. In exchange for that bracelet, Treinen handed him his game-used glove, signed it for him, and he's got it on his left hand right there. Game-used glove in exchange for a bracelet. Really cool gesture by Blake Treinen.
Wow.
Nats giving out a lot of sporting goods today. Unbroken bats, game gloves.
I'm going down the front row right now. You got the rest of this one. I might get something for free. That's awesome.
You're going to have to part with something, which is not always on the agenda.
I mean, look at that glove. It's got the red stitching, Blake's name sewn in it, Rollins.
And then his hero gets in the ball game too. Treinen facing Cameron Maybin here.
He's got a fan for life, I'll tell you that.
In Treinen, we trust. Is that what it's saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tell you what, my first ever major league game, John Hiller threw me a baseball. I didn't say anything. It was at Tiger Stadium. I was just watching him play catch. He threw me a ball, and that's the day I wanted to be a major league baseball player.
Off the plate, way up in the air. Escobar will just glove it, and that's a base hit for Cameron Maybin here in the 8th inning.
And I don't think most major league players realize the influence they can have on kids. I mean, just giving them a baseball or whatever you got a fan for life, and who knows, that kid might be a big league baseball player just because Blake Treinen gave him his glove. He might use it the rest of his life. And from that day on, I never said a word to John Hiller. In batting practice, I always found a kid that wasn't yelling, give me a bat, give me a ball, that was just quiet, taking it all in. And I'd run over and surprise him and put a ball in his lap every single day in batting practice because of what John Hiller did to me when I was 6 years old at my first big league game.
That's awesome.
I mean, did you see what Miguel Cabrera did with that kid the other night that was giving him grief at first base? They had a little exchange. Kid probably maybe 10, 12 years old. He ended up giving him stuff too. And I know it probably sounds sappy, but when you're playing, you don't realize the effect you have on fans. Maybe until you're done. It's nice to see that Blake Treinen realizes that. That's just fantastic.
One ball, one strike to Nick Markakis. And a chopper out to short for Ian Desmond. And the Nats have Markakis 0 for 4 today. He came in with 6 hits in this series. The pitching still fantastic. 6-0 Nats. Way to go, buddy.
Last night, third inning homer today, his 6th of the year. A 2-run shot made it 4-0. Ian Desmond going the other way. The inning continuing because of Clint Robinson's hard slide into second base on a potential Wilson Ramos double play ball. And Ian Desmond feeling good about himself after last night. Contributes here again today in a big way. Check out the scoreless inning streak. Pretty good, right? Oh my goodness.
That's unbelievable.
And there he is.
New pitcher for the Braves will be Brandon Cuniff, making his 2nd appearance. He gave up a couple of hits but had a scoreless 8th in a 3-1 ball game here Tuesday night. And that ball frisbees to the outside edge on Ian Desmond. Kelly Johnson has moved from third base to right field. Chris Johnson came in to pinch hit in the number 9 spot, and he stays in to play third base. So the Braves pitcher is batting third.
So Kelly Johnson right, Chris Johnson at third, and Brandon Johnson pitching?
No, that would be Brandon Cuniff, but Jim Johnson is still
there you go.
a possible appearance out of their bullpen. 1-2 to Ian Desmond, who has scored 2 runs today, driven in 2. And the Nats have reached double-digit hits again, 7th time in their last 11 games. And it's going to be a multi-hit game for Ian Desmond. And that will be the 17th time he's done that this year.
If water finds its level, which it usually does in baseball when you have track record like Ian Desmond, he is going to have one whale of a second half.
Yeah.
You're hoping, if you're Matt Williams and a Nats fan. That means he's going to have a lot of good days coming if he's going to get to that 20-20 thing he usually does, or gets all the hits he usually accumulates during the season.
Here's Tyler Moore, who's been on twice.
And Ryan Zimmerman too, and Jason Worth when he gets back.
Cunniff struck out Tyler swinging here on Tuesday night. And in the series, he's 1 for 6 with a pair of walks. Been on base 3 times. And this one heading toward the right field line, and Kelly Johnson catches the foul ball. Switches position. Ball finds him. Good play. 1 out.
P-Nats will be back at the Fitz June 28th through the 30th. And then again for Independence Day weekend. You can enjoy food, fireworks, and fun along with the highly anticipated Wilson Ramos Weird Thing. That giveaway is on July 5th. For all your ticket and promotional information, visit PotomacNationals.com. It's a buffalo with Wilson Ramos's head on it. And Wilson has horns. And it's really flexible this year.
Here's Michael A. Taylor. He's hit the ball sharply 3 times today. 1 for 3 with an RBI double off the center field wall back in the 2nd. Pulls that one to the left side. Good pick, Chris Johnson. And that ball airmailed by Jace Peterson. The Braves' 3rd error of the day, and Michael A. Taylor will end up at second base.
Well, we've seen a few times today or in this series where the speed of Michael Taylor has affected the Braves and their throws. I believe he reached on an error yesterday. And Jace Peterson just deciding that's going to be a 5-4 to the cameraman double play.
Outside to Dendecker. So Matt gets a little action here. 0 for 5 in 8 ball games this year. Started the season on the big league roster. Braves have done some unforced things though in this series. And Dendecker's going to check in with his first Nationals base hit. It'll have an RBI attached to it, and it's a 7-0 game.
It's a good swing.
He can do a lot of things. Play anywhere on defense. Good speed. Nice stroke.
Yeah, anywhere in the outfield on defense, and then you see him stay through this, going down, digging it out. Matt Dendecker. Nicely done.
Teammates liking it. The Nats by 7.
Did you see Lobito? Oh, hold on. Did you see Lobito's glasses upside down in the background right there? Oh, goodness. There you go. That's a good look. Oh, that guy. I think I just snorted on TV for the first time ever. That's funny.
I asked him around the cage the other day, are you valuing your playing time lately? He goes, oh yeah. He said, Buffalo playing every day. And he's done well while he's been in there. You've talked about how he frames pitches, how well he calls a game, handles the staff. He's had some timely hits, including the home run in the comeback game in Atlanta. Pretty good tandem, Ramos and Lobaton there.
That's a nice luxury to have a backup catcher like Jose Lobaton, where, you know, he gives you good at-bats and he calls a great game. Guys love throwing to he and Wilson.
Catcher who can switch hit.
Look up.
Two to Span, who's 1 for 4 today. And Denard fights one off his trademark and gets it out of play. So the Nats 12 hits tonight. They had 12 Tuesday, but only won the game 3-1. Scratched out 6 while being out hit last night and won the 11-inning game. So finding ways to win the starting pitching, giving Washington a chance to do that every day right now. And Ian Desmond has come alive. Runner on the move, but a swing and a miss. The Nats have scored their 3rd unearned run of the day. So they lead Atlanta big 7-0 into the 9th inning, Jose. Starting tomorrow night, City of Brotherly Love, and way down on Broad Street, Ben Franklin will be watching because he loves to watch Max Scherzer. He's had 2 amazing starts in a row, nearly perfect both times, and he's taking on the ball club with the worst record in all of baseball, but the Phillies have been playing a little better lately. What does Max have for Philadelphia tomorrow night? Find out at 7 o'clock. That's Extra, 6:30 on MASN.
I mean, if you're a baseball fan, you have to watch that game, not just a Nats fan. That's must-see TV tomorrow night.
Top of the 9th, A.J. Pierzynski for the Braves against Blake Treinen. 1 for 2 against him career. Blake trying to close this thing out with 6 outs from the bullpen. Fastball up and in. jammed in. That's Escobar, the third baseman over there for the first out.
Get in on the baseball action with Masson. Text the word Nationals to 29292 for team alerts, chances to win exclusive prizes all season long, including meet and greets with your favorite players or the skipper. Again, that's Nationals to 29292 for Nats alerts you just can't miss.
Dan Uggla, Craig Stammen, Rendon gets a day off. Bryce Harper got a day off. Whoever's in the lineup producing for the Nationals during this what's about to become 6-game winning streak. Joey Todoslavich, the hitter, 1 for 3. 1 for 4. Danny Espinosa right there. Johnny Holiday and Ray Knight out in left field, just dying to grab control of the telecast from us, and we'll be happy to hand it over in a moment. Nats Extra straight ahead. Kelly Johnson for the Braves here. They came to town 2 games behind the Nats, and they're about to head for Pittsburgh 5 games back. Kelly Johnson, a hit in 3 trips. Line drive to Espinosa last time up, and that's low and inside.
I just think the first game was so key. You've won 5 in a row against the Braves. You don't want them to let them think they can play with you. They're feeling good about themselves coming off a sweep of the Mets. Winning game 1 of this series was everything to Matt Williams' ball club. Even though they beat the Mets and Syndergaard and DeGrom and Harvey, they're still thinking, can we play with the Nats? They win game 1, or you just don't know what's going to happen the rest of the series. You give them confidence. They start to get swagger after 4 in a row. You win game 1, now you got a chance to sweep here with 1 more out.
3-1. Who would have thought that after the Nats lost the first 2 in this homestand to Tampa Bay, you would look up a week later and it would be a 6-2 homestand. Kelly Johnson now with a count of 3-2. And a foul ball will keep things going. Clapping in rhythm, big crowd, almost 38,000 here. Another 3-2 pitch. Line drive, base hit. That's Kelly Johnson's 5th hit in this 3-game series. And it'll bring in former Nat Johnny Gomes. Johnny today 0 for 1, hit by a pitch, a base on balls. And it's up the middle, but that's where Danny Espinosa will race to the bag and put an end to a sweep. And the Nats have now beaten Atlanta 8 out of 9 this year.
And 6 in a row for Matt Williams' ball club. Highlights of the homestand: a no-hitter near perfect game, walk-off sac fly by Ian Desmond, Steven Strasburg's return. The Nats are clicking. It's happening again, folks. Enjoy the ride.
The Nationals with their 8th shutout of the year. It's a 6-2 homestand. Final words from the booth in a moment.